got 25 minutes. We got to go.
Hey everyone, happy Wednesday.
Hump day.
We are in the middle of the week. It's great to be back with you, everyone.
Absolutely.
Say That Nation, hello. If this is your first time with us here on Say That channel, go ahead and put a 1 in the chat so that way we can shout you out. We like to shout out all of our first timers. If this is your second, third, fourth, just put an R. We just know that means you are returning, you're coming back, and we're happy to have you. So for all of you who are joining us for the first time, welcome. Here on Say That channel, we are unapologetic about talking about the ugly come up of entrepreneurship and small business owners. So you know how you hear those stories about people who start off with nothing and then all of a sudden have massive success. But what happens in the middle? What happens during that ugly come up? Well, that is what we're here to talk about. My name is Janelle Villiers. That over there is Winston Broderick. We are your hosts, and we're so happy to have you. This has been a labor of love for us. We love having the questions that you guys keep bringing up, and we love having the guests that we have. And so please continue to follow us on Instagram, subscribe, like, and all the other things. So guys, so you finally made the decision to write the book that you've been thinking about in your head. But how do you get that jumbled mess out of your head and onto paper so that way you can finally publish the book? And then how do you market it? How do you actually make money from it? Well, I'm inviting you to my next free masterclass on Monday, October 21st at 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Central, where I'm going over how to earn a lucrative income by becoming a best-selling author from scratch. See you there. That's right. That's happening Monday coming up. I can't believe it's happening. For those of you that register, and the link is down in the description box below, I will send you a free signed copy of my book. And that is for anyone who signs up for that. So I'm really excited about that. And now back to our show. Look, guys, we know what your attention span is like. So we've only got 25 minutes to answer the topic of the day, right? And when we run out of time, what do? Oh no. Go down to Patreon, right? And you can follow all of us and our guests. Once you become a Patreon member and follow us there, catch us on Overtime. We have amazing recordings of all of our guests. The amount of nuggets that you get are incredible and invaluable. So please definitely catch us there.
All right. What do we got for the topic today?
Today is poor health draining your business potential? Good question. We've danced with this question in the past. This is one of Winston's fun and favorite topics related to health and business. And I'm really excited because it's not just us today. Today we have an amazing guest who has over 10 years of experience in herbal alternative health. I have had an amazing conversation about what he does. He is like the best person to answer today's question. He's a small business owner and entrepreneur. Please, everybody welcome Kris Blacksmith.
Our next guest.
Hey, there he is.
Welcome in, Kris.
Thanks for having me.
Well, we're super excited to have you and to get into today's topic. But before we do, for those who are meeting you for the first time, please tell us a little bit about your journey into making health a business for you.
Definitely. So for me and the majority of people who go into health, it's for our own health first. It usually starts in your own life, your own stuff. So when I was 19, I started having a whole bunch of symptoms. They didn't happen all at once, but it was like bowel issues and then muscle pain and nerve pain and muscle weakness and fatigue and brain fog, a whole bunch of different things. And as a young adult, I was like, this is crazy. I've never felt like this before. This isn't the way that my life is supposed to be. So, I went through meeting multiple doctors. I met a total of 6 over 4 years. I was accused of drug seeking and being overweight during that time. And just a quick note on overweight, I was 10 pounds over BMI. And if anyone knows what the BMI is, that's very little outside of the range. So to tell me I'm going to lose 10 pounds and I'll feel better was ridiculous. After seeing all of those doctors, I did get a diagnosis of fibromyalgia. I was put on prescription medication that over time caused short-term memory loss. So I was like, I can't do this anymore. I can't live this life anymore. So I started looking at alternative remedies. It was right around when CBD became really popular and was becoming legal. So I just started looking at alternatives. I tried CBD. I looked in all kinds of different alternative health books. And I mean, that's where it started, was just researching for myself. I ended up finding 2 herbs that help fibromyalgia. I went to a traditional Chinese medicine specialist in Denver. They gave me a formula mixture with the 2 herbs that I wanted. They looked at my tongue for 5 seconds, said, you also need this, added another herb to it. And I drank that for a little over 10 years before my fibromyalgia was gone. I don't have it anymore. And
Wow.
during that time, I went from being a person who was chronically ill, chronically in pain. As long as I drank my tea, I had little to no symptoms and I was able to function as a normal adult. So it was an amazing thing. And that's what started me on wanting to be an entrepreneur in it. I wanted to share that with everyone and let them know you don't have to stick on these prescription medications. You don't have to sit here not knowing what's going on. There are options for you outside of the modern health system.
Say that.
Yeah, say that. That's an incredible story. I don't want to this may almost, okay, we're going to ask you a lot of questions. Let's get into the topic before I start asking. I'm like, a ton of questions are in my head. Now you guys can understand why Kris is definitely the person to answer today's question, which is poor health draining your business potential. What are your thoughts on this, Kris?
I mean, yeah, this is just the basic answer is yes. It is something that happens. What happens to the majority of entrepreneurs, especially solopreneurs, is we see all the shinies. We're like, I want to do this and I want to do that and I want to go on tours and I want to go to all of these shows and I want to start a podcast and I want to be on YouTube and I want to do all of these things. And so I mean, the level of burnout is so high because you get so stressed out from all of those different things that you're doing, trying to keep up on all of the different things. I mean, you're trying to stay on top of your marketing and you're trying to also make your products or advertise your business, provide your services, whatever you're doing. And you're also having to do your own accounting and you're having to travel to all these different places. And I mean, you're constantly going and doing, especially in the beginning. And so it's just like, it adds all this extra stress into your life and it does cause you to be ill more often. You have to take more days off. You're working way more hours than a person who's working a 40-hour-a-week job because it's like, oh, I've got to get this done. I've got to get there. I want to do all of these things. And so you're just stuck in this loop of like, okay, I'm going to keep doing this. And I'm going to drink a protein shake instead of having a full meal because then I can give myself 45 more minutes to keep working and stuff like that. So, I mean, it just builds and builds and builds the whole time while you're doing that.
Yeah.
If you can relate to this, put an R in the chat. I would be putting a huge R in the chat right now to all of those things. So tell us then a little bit about how, I mean, you nailed it, right? Like we are trying to do all the things at the same time. So what if you have poor health? Because obviously, I mean, I think it's pretty obvious that if we had great health, then it would help our businesses. But like, I don't think people sometimes make the connection so directly to say, oh, health, and then how does that impact my business? Could you really illustrate that for us in a way that could be tangible to some folks?
Yeah. So, I mean, thinking about you're working a 60-hour week. And so you're sitting there, you're working those 60 hours, you're sacrificing sleep, you're sacrificing your nutrition, you're sacrificing exercise, you're not taking care of your body. And so as you're degrading, it starts with small things like acute illnesses, like people getting a sinus infection every single year. or multiple sinus infections every single year, it's like, okay, this is an annoying thing. I'll go get some antibiotics and then I'll be fine. But what's really happening is your body is talking to you. It's saying, hey, slow down. Hey, stop. Hey, if you're not going to listen to me, I'm going to make you stop. And that's when the illnesses become stronger. It's not just that sinus infection. It's not just the cold and flu. That's when it starts going into chronic things where I'm going to make it so that you can't breathe because you feel like you're suffocating in your job. So we're just going to make it feel like that all the time, so you'll stop and slow down so I can rest. It's things like leading into chronic pain or chronic fatigue where you're like, I'm so tired, I can't get out of bed. Well, yeah, because you were doing all this time where you were constantly working, constantly pushing yourself, you broke your body down. And so then it was like, okay, yep, no, we're going to pause now. We're going to stop. We're not going to do this. I'm going to make you let me recover. And then typically we don't listen. We get through that recovery period and we start the cycle all over again.
Truth.
Kris, with the herbal remedies, are there also dietary shifts that someone would? Because I know you mentioned eating grabbing food and going, things like that, not eating the best meals. Are there other dietary changes that kind of go with some of the herbal remedies?
Yeah, the ultimate thing that would happen, and I don't expect this of anyone because it's not practical. The ultimate thing would be each person has an individualized diet based on what their body needs. But I mean, you're in a household with a family, that's not going to happen. So what we do when I talk to people about that is it's more, these are the foods I want you to avoid, and these are the foods I want you to add more of. And so there can be diet changes depending on what I'm talking to people about, depending on what their needs are. And sometimes it can be extreme. I mean, I have a client right now who she's doing really good, but gosh, she hates it so much. I would hate it too. She's had to cut pretty much all spices out of her diet. She can use pepper and salt, and that's all she's allowed to spice her food with right now, because that's just how unbalanced her digestive system is. So it can be on any level of extremes. Sometimes it's less meat, sometimes it's more meat, sometimes it's a bunch of different things. Traditional Chinese medicine looks at it in the energetics of food. All food has its own energetic temperature. And so there are cooling or cold foods, there's warming and hot foods, and then there's neutral foods. So the biggest thing that I try and work with everyone on is including more neutral foods in their diet. The diet in the majority of the United States is very heavy towards the warming hot foods or the cool cold foods. We don't keep a lot of the neutral foods in our diets. It's a lot of the like grains, a lot of the different like rices and legumes and different things like that. The focusing the majority of your diet around those kinds of foods, and then adding in the different meats or things that help with where you're at.
That's really interesting. I always find this fascinating. This is because for me, I love learning about cultures. So this almost feels like a part of a culture that like I just don't understand yet. Or probably more fitting is it just reminds me of, I feel like all of us, no matter what culture like your ancestors from, all of us had like a better understanding of what food and herbs could do for us, and it's kind of like just lost. Like I feel like it's a connection to a lost wisdom. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
it's like
no,
your
that's
grandmother.
Yeah. Like, it's so funny. So I was thinking, even when you started talking about like the herbs, I was like, oh, it's so funny. I'm thinking witch, like, and I know that probably shouldn't be where most people's heads go, but I don't necessarily see like that as being a bad thing. I don't think like casting spells, but just this idea that like, how different herbs can work with the human body to like make us better. I'm very curious about some of that thing. Like, what would you recommend entrepreneurs should be? What herbs would you recommend entrepreneurs add to their daily diets that you feel like would be helpful for us?
So I love that you bring that up because that is one of the biggest topics that I talk about regularly with people. There is no specific herb that I can say, hey, everybody take this, because everybody's body is different and what everybody needs is different. That's
Good point.
what happens in modern medicine. You go to the doctor and they say, oh, you need more fish oil. Go to the
Yeah,
store,
yeah.
buy these fish oil vitamins,
Mm,
take those. And then, oh, you need more iron, go and take these iron pills. Oh, you need more of
Hmm.
this, go and take that. Or people are just, they read something online and they're like,
mm,
oh, this is really
I
good
need
for me,
more of
I'm
this.
going to
Yeah.
go buy that and I'm going to take this for myself. And so they actually end up building this whole system in their house that may be hurting their body and they have no idea,
mm,
because it's so complicated how every herb interacts and the way that it looks at, and it takes a lot of research and time to figure out where it is and what it goes into. The doctors will say take this because that's what, there was a study that said this helps with this particular issue. So I mean, it's just stuff like that. They're kind of shooting in the dark with those kinds of things. There is constant research going on, but it's still not, it's not to the level, they're not looking towards the traditional ancient knowledge for that. They're just going to, this is what a new study in the last couple of years said. So if I would, what I would say for entrepreneurs is most likely you have adrenal fatigue, because the majority of
mm,
people have adrenal fatigue. And that's from overworking yourself, from being under constant stress. And you probably have your lymphatic system is probably pretty drained. That's our body's first defense against
mm,
all the germs and all the stuff that comes out there. It's the first in the what I call the system cascade. So you start
Hmm.
with the lymphatic system, and when that breaks down, then the next system in your body is affected, and then the next one and the next one, and it's kind of like a domino effect because you're overworked and overstressed, and then you can't get back to that state of health.
mm. So, guys, want to discover more about your health? Sign up for your free consultation with Kris at Adler's Health Services. Kris will perform a tongue diagnosis and be able to discuss what's going on with your health without you having to give him any symptoms or giving him your medical history. Kris is a master herbalist with over 10 years of experience in alternative health. Kris provides a unique perspective using a combination of traditional Chinese medicine, Ayurvedic medicine, and Western herbalism, a combined knowledge of over 12,000 years. If you're tired of not knowing what's going on with your health, then start a new health journey with Kris today. There it is. So Kris just started to get into some of the particulars, and now you guys know that he can actually help you specifically, giving you a unique information for your own health. So there's his website. You definitely want to click on that. It's also in the description below, so you guys can make your consultation. I'm curious, Kris, if you could talk to us a little bit. What is this tongue diagnosis? I mean, you even mentioned it in your story that you like had your tongue analyzed. Like, could you talk to us a little bit about what that is?
Yeah, so that is a really ancient form of diagnosis. It was developed in China, so it's over 3,000 years old, and it has been clinically proven by the German Institute of Tongue Diagnosis. There is an institute in Germany that is studying tongue diagnosis, and they compared it to lab results, and they got the same answers through looking at someone's tongue and using the traditional diagnosis with our modern lab results. So that was a really cool thing to find out about it. So what it is a bunch of different things about your tongue, the color of your tongue, the texture of your tongue, the how strong or weak the muscle is, if it's swollen, a whole bunch of different things. All of those things tell me different parts about your body and different areas. Your tongue is connected to your whole body. It's like a map.
Hmm.
So I can look at a person's tongue and say, okay, their liver is being affected, and so is their heart and their spleen, because they're having issues in these specific areas of their tongue. And there's a whole bunch of different tongues. The thing I see the most is an inflamed or heat-based tongue. And that's typically, my favorite one is the strawberry tongue. because it looks like a strawberry. It's your taste buds on your tongue are inflamed, and that's what gives it the strawberry look. Is it looks like the seeds of a strawberry, but they're little red dots all over your tongue. So it's a fairly complicated form of diagnosis, but it is so cool. I did it with a client for a presentation. I asked if they were okay with me presenting to people, and they were in that presentation group. She didn't give me any information on her medical history or anything like that. And she said when I talked about it, there were things that I said that she was going through that she hadn't told anyone.
Oh, wow.
So it was a very fun experience to do that with people. It's a little party trick I get to pull out with people.
So wait, really quickly, what does the strawberry tongue indicate?
So that indicates that you are in a heat state. And when I talk about a heat state, I'm not talking about like you're hot all the time. It's an energetic hot. So your body is constantly in a state of like your organs are hot, so your digestion's messed up. It can either cause constipation or diarrhea, depending on other factors. It's what causes acid reflux. So like my daughter has a strawberry tongue and she has GERD. And so, I mean, there's different things like that. It's all these kinds of things about your digestive system. It affects your ability to fight off infection because you're internally, your body's working harder than it needs to process your food.
Wow.
Fascinating. All right. So I'm just thinking about, again, going back to like our entrepreneur group. What are some things, I mean, I know you said everybody's unique, so it's not about that, but like, are there some lifestyle changes that you would advise entrepreneurs to consider putting into their routine? Okay.
Yeah, there's definitely stuff. The biggest one is balance. And I'm going to say it again, just so everyone can hear it. Balance.
Yeah.
So that's about making sure that you are balancing your life with your business. I know it's hard. I do it too. We're so excited. We want to get all this stuff done, but you need to schedule time to relax, to do self-care, to eat, to drink water, to exercise. And I'm not talking about going to the gym. I'm talking about like going for a walk, getting up out of your chair, going outside. Like the really small changes. We're not talking about huge changes in your life, but actually putting all that stuff on your schedule. That's the biggest part about it. We schedule out our lives for, I've got this meeting, I've got this phone call, I'm going to make products at this time, I have a client at this time. We do all of that, but we don't schedule the time for, I'm going to eat and I'm going to take 30 minutes right now to eat my food and not work. I'm not going to answer emails. I'm not going to answer calls. My phone is going to be in another room. I'm going to sit here and I'm going to focus on eating, because part of what happens too is there's a lack of presence because we're always focused on what's next, what's next, what's next. And so scheduling that time for yourself, I'm going to sit here and I'm going to focus on enjoying the meal that's in front of me, or I'm going to do self-care, I'm going to go on a walk, or I'm going to take a bath, or I'm going to do meditation, any of those things that are fueling yourself and your soul so that you have the energy to be able to do your business. One of the cliche sayings, and it's cliche for a reason, is you can't fill from an empty cup. So stop trying to burn yourself out and keep giving and giving and giving. Fill yourself up so that you're able to give back to the people that you're wanting to help.
Say that. Wow.
Say that. That's one of my favorite sayings. You can't give from an empty cup. Yeah, I really believe that.
It's true. So I actually wanted to ask, and Janelle brought it up a little bit earlier. You started out with your story, and you obviously got a lot of value. You were going through a lot, and then got a lot of value. So you decided to turn, I guess, that experience into a business. I want to understand how that kind of played out. So what happened between you finding remedies for yourself and that becoming a business?
Oh, that so much. But I've worked in a lot of different industries. My first job using my degree, which was in psychology and art, I double majored, was teaching art to developmentally disabled adults. And that was the only job that I stayed in for more than a year. I was there for 3 years. Then after that, I worked in a nursing home. Then I worked with traumatic brain injury. I was an employment specialist. I was a case manager at a mental health facility. And then I was
I can't believe we ran out of time. The time just flew. So Kris is going to get into more of that in overtime. So believe me, like I am sitting at the edge of my seat, literally ready to hear the rest of this. So look, catch us over on overtime. Just do that by becoming a Patreon member. Again, all of that is in the description box below. This has been amazing. If you want to reach out to Kris, he's a real person. You can reach out to him and get your free consultation. There's his website. Again, that's also in the description below. There's his email address. He will respond to you. And you can find him on LinkedIn as well. Kris has been amazing. I'm really looking forward to the rest of your answer in overtime.
Say that. All right, guys, if you have not done so already, make sure you hit the subscribe button, like, and the notification bell so you know whenever we're going to have an episode. But until we see you next time, as always, remember, you deserve the good life. Say that.
Say that.
We'll see you guys in overtime.